Hello everyone, my name is Metro, and today we've returned talking about the full 5.4 recap. Alright, now this patch is slated to hit live servers in the United States realms Tuesday around 2 Eastern, and then Wednesday for the EU realms around, I guess, 2 GMT, maybe 3 GMT, whatever it is. But anyway, we have a lot to talk about, so as always, this is going to be a long video. Okay, I got the PowerPoint here. Got the PowerPoint, like I usually do. But if you want to see something specific, in the description is going to be a full outline of everything I've spoke of today, with corresponding videos that I've made, or perhaps Siler or other people have made in relationship to these topics. So head there if you have something that you want to see specifically. But otherwise, sit down, grab a drink, and enjoy it. All right. So 5.4. We'll start with the overview, like always. Siege of Orgrimmar. Right, this is a major content patch. This is not 5.3, this is 5.4. New raids out, new tier, all right. We got Flex raid as well. We're going to talk about that. Another big implication that they're talking about putting in anyway. It's not coming in with the actual patch, but it's going to be introduced throughout the patch. All right, that's going to be the virtual realm concept, the connected realms. We'll talk about that more in a bit. Another really cool addition, the Proving Grounds, something else that they've been talking about for a while. Essentially, Brawlers Guild for healers and tanks. Missing the other quotation there, so that's a big blunder on my part. Anyway, we'll talk about that as well. And then Timeless Isle. All right, now this is definitely the best thing they've added, in my opinion. The raid obviously is the focal point, but the Timeless Isle is really cool. We have some cool things to discuss when we get to that topic. And then obviously the legendary quest continues, and the cloak, the legendary version, has finally arrived. Okay, now I have a full video on that. You can check that out in the description. And then the final big topic that we got to talk about is redesigned arena systems. And it's not a big deal to me, right? But I recognize the fact that there are a lot of individuals that are interested in arena, and this is a huge change. Right? And then obviously tons of class changes and battlefield barons going away as they've broken through, and it's time to assault the Orgrimmar city itself. All right, so we'll start off with the Siege of Orgrimmar, the new tier. All right, new raid. It's got 14 bosses. All right, 14 bosses, normal and heroic. Garrosh, however, has a heroic only phase, just like Ragnaros from Firelands, if you remember correctly. And apparently, spoiler alert, it's going to take place in a ruined Orgrimmar, or a ruined Stormwind, or something like that. It's going to be pretty interesting. But this leads into the fact that there is a very unique design and story with this raid. All right, typically the raid has some story behind it and not a lot in it. But this time, the story really hits hard while you're doing the raid. Nearly every boss has heavy influence from major lore characters, and if they don't actually directly participate in the fight, they have some bearing on the fight after it's over. All right, and the raid is going to start in the Vale of Eternal Blossoms, which you may have already seen. It has been completely destroyed, and events throughout the raid take us to Org. All right, so really cool concept. Now there's going to be Raid Finder for this as well, obviously, and this is going to be gated over 7 weeks. Right, I'll have a link to the blog talking about the gate for Flex and all that for Raid Finder in the description. But we got a new difficulty? What? You know what I'm talking about right now? It's like ICC, isn't it? All over again. So let's move on to Flex Raid. Flex gon' give it to you. That's the DMX reference. Anyway, difficulty is going to be somewhere between LFR and normal. Now, I've done it on the PTR, and I'm going to say it's a lot more difficult than I expected, but it's not more difficult than normal, obviously. Bosses are a challenge. They have legitimate mechanics, and you have to actually do the mechanics, unlike an LFR, where you can just get a bunch of fucking idiots, and they could do whatever the hell they want. This is going to be akin to 10-man rating in ICC if you're rated during that tier. That was the easiest tier rating back then, but it was still a challenge. You could not just dick around with it. And this is going to require you to do pre-made groups, which I don't have on the screen, but I should. This is going to have pre-made groups, but you can queue for it. So my recommendation is to bring, it's a flexible size. So my recommendation is going to be probably about 15 players. And then if some have to leave, you are not in you are in no trouble at all. You can keep going as long as you have at least 10. But the maximum is 25. So if you have 25 people that want to go as well, it doesn't matter if people leave. That's the cool thing, because the difficulty will adjust based on the number of human beings in the raid. Obviously, you'll want some distribution of tanks, healers, probably 2 tanks, maybe a third if you're really feeling, you know, like you could use a third, but 2, 3, 4 healers, and then the rest DPS, and you're in good shape. And if people leave, you're all set. Now, it's going to be LFR type loot, which, you know, brings up a few questions. This is going to mean there's no drama with too many players, because what I see happening is if you did regular loot, they're like, well, what's the cutoff for an extra piece of loot, right? So say 10 people would get 2 pieces of loot, but if you brought 14, there'd be 3 pieces of loot. So you'd always want to bring 14, and then they'd be like, well, we only brought this dude so he can get the extra piece of loot. He's not, you know, shit like that. Or we got too many rogues, shit like that. That's not what this is for. This is for casual, fun, challenging raiding, and I'm going to like it. Now, you're going to save to loot and not bosses. And the reason I have that question mark there is because I'm not 100% sure if this is accurate. But if that's the case, then just like LFR, you could run it multiple times a week on the same character. I cannot 100% verify that, as I have not been able to deplete an entire wing on the PTR. I'm not sure anyone has. But if anyone knows the answer to that question, please do leave it in the comments section. Maybe after the fact, I guess. But if that is the case, then that means you could help out other groups. But this is going to be, to me, great for alts because it has a separate lockout from normal and heroic, though. It's also going to be great for mains who are trying to get achievements, maybe get some offset gear, help out buddies get some gear. It's going to be great. This is definitely my most anticipated feature because I have a lot of alts and this is open raidable, right? You know what I mean? This is going to be spammed on open raid. It really is. So we move on. Virtual realms. Okay, now this is the next topic. Once again, connecting multiple realms obviously makes sense. There's a video on that in the description as well if you want to check it out, how it exactly looks and works. But you're not going to know which realms are connected, at least not right now. If in the future we do know, I'll definitely be making a video on that. But for now, we don't even have an estimated time of arrival on this feature. So they just said it's going to come out as the patch progresses. May not be till the end. I assume it will be before 5.5 if there is one. But what they're trying to do here is, there's a lot of fucking idiots who say that realms are dead because they have less players than other realms. But, you know, there's very few realms that actually have nothing on it. And even if there were, those realms are trying to get fixed, right? That's the fix. Because they don't want people just abandoning realms because of the decline in population. So that's going to fix that issue now. That's going to preserve special realm-specific things, though, as well, right? Obviously, it's going to allow players on each virtual realm to join guilds. They could be in my guild. They can be in my raid. You know what I mean? They could do raids with this. They can auction house, obviously arena, stuff like that, although that's no longer an issue. But everything that you can do on a realm now, you're going to be able to do with each realm on the virtual realm. It's like a sub-tier, you know what I mean? But realm-specific achievements will remain. Now, once again, this is another topic. I am not really sure how it works. Because think about this, if you're in a raid and you have like 5 people from a different realm, right? So say we got 20 people from Fire Tree and 5 people from Bronzebeard, if that works that way. You know, no, it's not gonna, but anyway. Fire Tree's 25-man realm first heroic Siege of Orgrimmar kill has been gotten. Are those 5 people, once we kill it, are they gonna get it because there's not one on Bronzebeard? I don't know how that's gonna work, but that's what they're saying is gonna work. So it's a very interesting concept, one way or the other. Might as well move on, though. Proving grounds is the next topic, and this is another really innovative topic. As you can tell, there's a lot of really leaps and bounds type things being added here, minus the raid, obviously. But this is a level 90 trial, very similar to Brawler's Guild, all right? But there's going to be 3 options you're going to be able to do as a deeps, a healer, or a tank. Now, range and melee get no separation here. So I already have some people complaining that melee is dumb and it's not fun, and the range mechanics, you know, there's mechanics that are meant to be done as range. But anyway, that's on you guys. You guys get fucking Brawler skill. Remember that shit. This is for the healers and the tanks. And there's going to be multiple difficulties. Bronze is going to be the easy one, right? No doubt about it. Obviously, it's called bronze for a reason. Then there's going to be silver. Okay, and then there's going to be gold, and gold is going to be like the standard. This is where you should be if you're a legitimate player, and you'll work your way up through these ranks and say, all right, hey, I could heal, I could tank, I know what I'm doing, I'm gold, here's the fucking achievement, let's rock, you know what I mean? So it might turn into something like that, but more so, there's going to be endless. Okay, and that's going to have a score. You're going to say like, oh, I survived fucking 26 waves on my druid healer on endless. And in fact, Ghostcrawler himself, or perhaps Blues in general, have said, they've admitted, which I think is a better word for this, that it's not going to be possible to get like really high scores on some classes, and they're fine with that. Because that's not what this is for. It's not fucking EP and shit. It's to see how far you can test your abilities as a player. So, you know, sometimes if you want to get endless 30 rounds, you got to do it on a different character. But anyway, this is going to allow players to compare themselves against others. So if somebody says, well, I don't know, is this guy any good? And be like, well, I mean, he got to endless. You know, it's not the best comparison, but I think it's a bit more comparable than saying, well, this guy's fucking 13 out of 13 heroic. You know what I mean? Like, well, did he actually compete, or did he get carried? You know, shit like that is kind of a bad thing. And it's going to be a lot of fun to do on off nights. There's no doubt about that. But there's also going to be achievements and titles tied in with this, so it's going to be worth doing one way or the other. And now, really importantly, eventually they're going to be using this as low-level training aid. They've said it's a very, very high possibility, which I think is perfect for this concept because it's exactly what you want. You want new players to come in and have to do this to learn how to play their class. So you don't get these idiots in LFR who, like, literally have no idea how to play their class. You know what I mean? They have no clue at all. This would be great. Anyway, the next and probably coolest feature. Now, this is, you know, the features have been awesome so far, and I'm really looking forward to Flex. But, bam, Timeless Isle. You know what I'm saying right now? This is going to be wicked. I cannot wait for this fucking... I cannot wait. And the coolest thing to take away from this stretched and blurry image is that it uses the Jade Forest architecture. And the Jade Forest, to me, is Pandaria. When I look at Pandaria, I immediately remember Jade Forest, day one leveling. It was the best experience I've ever had in any video game ever. And I love it. I love Pandaria for that reason alone. So it's really good to see that they brought that back with a Timeless Isle. A really cool idea here. Obviously, pure exploration, all right? This is a no-fly zone with no reward-based grind. All right, you do not have to fucking spam dailies. Look at all the fucking exclamation points I have there because everybody bitched, they got their way. And I can't say I disagree because I never really liked dailies. But they were never mandatory. They were reward-based, meaning that it's not mandatory to fucking raid. You get rewards from raid as well. You don't need both. But anyway, reward-based dailies do not exist on this island. Okay, there's a few like quests and stuff that you could do, but they're just to help you along. They're not mandatory. They're not. You could just fucking explore. I have a ton of videos on all the achievements, and not to mention those achievements grant you timeless coins, right? Which is the currency, the amorphous currency this island possesses. But anyway, rewards are going to be done your way. You're going to be able to use timeless coins and exploration, obviously your own time, for things like 496 full set achievements as well, but you get fucking gear. You know what I mean? This is huge. This is massive. A full set of 496, including trinkets, weapon, everything. All right, that's huge. So baseline 496 eye level, every character is going to be just like the end of Kata with those dungeons. You can get a full set, and you should be raid ready to rock. Mogul Runes of Fate as well you can get from here if you need them for the old tier LFR. You get battle pets. There's some rare ones on the isle, some difficult ones to get, but there's also mounts. And I made a video on the Emperor Xiaohao rep. That gives you the fucking Heavenly Golden Serpent. Oh, it's the coolest mount in the game. I can't wait to try to get that. And then there's some cosmetic items as well. There's these rare, like, really rare items, which unfortunately I couldn't make a video on because they're so rare, but they give you these strange cosmetic... Anyway, it's really cool. Sensor of Agony, shit like that, but... really, really cool stuff. Now, there's also going to be world bosses, all right? And they're going to drop PvP gear and PvE gear, just like always. There's 4 Celestials, 1 per week will give you loot, but all 4 of them are required to kill in the first week for the Legendary Cloak, which is really, really cool. And then there's the Ordos encounter, which apparently you need the Legendary Cloak, but the reason I have a question mark there is because you only need the Legendary Cloak to get to him, okay? But once you're there, you can probably just summon people. I don't know. I haven't tried it. If you guys have, let me know. If you know somebody who's killed Ordos without the cloak, let us know. But and then probably another. I mean, this is awesome. Nobody really cares about this because it's fucking cooking. But there's a classic style, like a legendary cooking quest. You know how 4s the Dragon Slaying Compendium, stuff like that. I had you go all over the fucking continent. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Shit like this is something that I've missed in this game, and I have a full video and you know, demonstration of all these cooking things in the description if you want to check that out. But really, really, really cool addition. Now, I really couldn't give a fuck about Arena, but this is a major, major change, so we got to talk about it, all right? Arena changes. There are no more fucking teams. They have gotten rid of Arena teams. How nuts is that? Crazy, crazy change. Obviously, that's going to open up Cross-Realm Arena, minus, you know, obviously people will have to want to do Cross-Realm Arena, but you're going to be able to do it. You'll probably be able to go to OQ, Open Raid, and say, look, looking for 2s, looking for fucking 3s, looking for that 5s, you know what I mean? Looking for fucking Jumanji Jello Cleave, 5 Bombkin, stuff like that. Anyway, personal rating is going to be much, much more important. I don't know much about how this worked in the past, but I understand now the fact that everything's going to depend on it, obviously, as there are no more team ratings. I don't know exactly what team rating did for you, but what I understand personal rating is going to do for you now is your conquest cap, requirements on gear, gladiators, and all achievements are now going to be completely based on your personal rating. I don't know if some of those are actually based on the team before, but one way or the other, very, very important. And now, once again, I do not PvP, so if you guys have anything that you would like to add that perhaps I omitted due to novice, please do add them in the comment section below, and I'm more than happy to add it somewhere or, you know, talk about whatever. But anyway, next up is the class fucking mechanics. There's a few changes. There's not a lot, right? This isn't a balancing patch. It's a new tier, so obviously the balancing patch will be 5.5 if there is one, or hot fixes anyway. But Vengeance changed. That's the first thing we got to talk about, because that's a big fucking deal. They basically changed Vengeance, and you can read up on this yourself, but they're going to DR it for multiple mobs, so you're not going to gain as much from when you're attacking like 15 mobs, and they've scaled it down to 1.5% AP from damage, down from 1.8. It used to say 2, but it was always 1.8. Everybody knew that. No Vengeance from AoE on the ground anymore either. So you're not going to have fucking Leona standing in everything. You know what I mean? Like literally standing in things that would kill the DPSers just to try to get more Vengeance. That shit's gone, and I'm fucking glad of it, because that was so dumb. I hated that. I hated tanks having to do that kind of stuff. Anyway, but now a big deal here is this does not affect challenge modes, because if it did, the tanks, you know, we brought a monk tank for our first run through golds, and it was very, very, very easy to get all the gold timers, even with multiple, you know, we did a lot of things wrong the first time we went through. There's no doubt about that. But my DPS on a monk tank was so high. It was higher than everybody else in the group on AoE. I would do more DPS than everyone else in the group as a tank on AoE packs. If they took out Vengeance, that would be a very, very big blow to new people trying to get time. So they can't do that. Another class change that we're talking about here, though, is knockback DR. Alright, so if a fucking Shami thunderfucks you, you get knocked back, for 10 seconds you're now immune. Alright, you can't get a fucking bombkin to knock you back as well. Or like explosive trap, shit like that. It's not going to work. And then finally, taunt now equals 200% threat, as well as fixating the mob, right? So I'm going to taunt the mob, I'm going to grab his attention, and while I have taunt activated for like a few seconds, 200% threat is going to be generated. So that's really good for people trying to get burst threat, because as, you know, DPS gets higher and higher, tank damage does not necessarily scale as well. So they really got to compensate for that a bit. Now, not much left to talk about, but there's still a few other cool things I want to discuss. The Pet Battle Tourney, all right? It's basically an Elite Four type event that takes place on the Timeless Isle in a scenario, and it's a weekly event. I have a video on it, on the basics of it, and a few of the trainers that I fought. I think there's like 9, like a round of 9 that you have to fight 3 of every week. You have to beat them all without resting or healing any Pokemon, just like in the Elite Four, you know. And then there's one badass battle against some like beast motherfuckers. But anyway, just like the Pokemon shit. And then there's the battle. Pets themselves have had a lot of passives have been redesigned, I guess is the word for it. I'm not going to talk about that in this video, but that's all up there if you want to go read that on yourself, so you can. And then another big deal here is that there's 20% reduction of TOT. So Throne of Thunder previous tier only had a 10% reduction. And to be frank, we just went in and did a fucking normal Elegon clear up to Elegon, and it took us like 25 minutes to kill 5 bosses. And I think the first boss, like each boss died in less than 2 minutes, and most were dead in a minute. Like, think Garajal was 1 minute and 6 seconds or something ridiculous. So 20% in TOT is pretty much nerfed as hard as the 10. You know, it's just going to be insanity. You're going to be able to kill fucking... You're just going to crush them. You know what I mean? They're just going to get crushed. So now's a good time to get the open raid going, get achievements, get some heroic kills that you don't already have, which is pretty good. But and then another huge change is heroic scenarios have no minimum eye level. Although it really shouldn't matter because you should be able to get to 496 eye level on the island. There is no minimum eye level for heroic scenarios, so you can get that easy 516 day one as long as you got somebody carrying you through, I guess. And then the final few things we're going to talk about here today are some of the profession changes. All right, now there's a new enchanting reagent. This is not necessarily a huge thing, but basically all the epics that used to be, we'll talk about that in a bit, but all the epics that you can now buy with justice points, in order to prevent that from like flooding the shock crystal market, they've made them disenchant into a reagent called I can't remember what it was called actually. Shock crystal fragment, that's it. And you have to combine like 3 of them. Multiple shock crystal fragments can be combined into a shock crystal. So 4, 5, 3, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure to be frank, but that's just to prevent you DEing all the old 496 gear that you're going to be able to buy with Justice, which is a good thing. And then the noodle carts, once again, video in the description. Probably the coolest thing they've ever added for cooks. Really feels like a classic legendary type quest. Cannot wait. Scaling enchants, another thing in the video, a video I have on it. So basically you can put level 90 enchants on like level 1 weapons. Don't have to farm Crusader shit like that anymore. You can just put Jade Serpent, whatever, whatever enchant you have, put it on the weapon, send it to the alt. Good for heirlooms, and it's going to scale up as you level up until the max level of the actual enchant. So if you put a level 60 enchant on a level 1 weapon, when the weapon reaches 60, or when you reach 60 as well, that's it. It's done. It's not going to work anymore. So like it's not going to scale up past 60. But anyway, and then there's going to be new gear to make from professions. As always, you're going to learn patterns throughout the world to make these like new. I guess it's like a resource. And then you use that resource to make the gear, which you'll learn from making the resource, kind of like how alchemy used to work in BC. And then there's obviously the engineering skyclaw mount, which Siler did a video on, which will be in the description. And finally, 22 minutes, wrapping this up. 52, what am I talking about? 5.2 Valor items are going to cost 34% less. Strange number, but that's going to cut the cost down quite a bit. And that's going to require no reputation as well, right? So really, really good. All the stuff from the Shadow Pan Assault or whatever it was called, you don't need to have the rep anymore, and you can buy at a much easier rate. So if you are new, you're on an alt, you can get a 522 set quite easy, 496 from the aisle, very, very easy to catch up, and you're ready to raid almost, within the first week or two. And then all the 5.1 and 5.0 Valor items are now going to cost Justice points. So we kind of already hinted on that with the Shock Crystal thing, but that's another huge thing as well. I mean, if you cannot get if you don't have a good trinket or something like that, and you had the better trinket from the Valor, it really doesn't make a difference. But one way or the other, 496 eye level is going to be a joke to obtain. All you got to do is either go to the Isle or farm Justice and buy it. But this is the time to fucking catch up. It's the last patch. Going to be the best patch I think ever released. I say this with every patch, but it's because it is true. Every patch has been the best patch they've ever released in this entire expansion, and it only fucking gets better. Dragon Soul was not the best patch they ever released at the time. Firelands was better. The first patch of fucking BWD was better. This is not fucking true in this expansion. Each patch more innovative, more interesting, more intriguing. Every fucking patch. Enjoy it. Have any questions? Leave them in the comment section below, or eat a dick. I mean, you can do whichever at this point. I don't care.